That's so funny.
Huzzah! And welcome to the Senate, where one of you will be sentenced to go fight to the death in the Colosseum. Juan, let's start with you. Do you feel like there seems to be a pattern going on? What is the danger level for you tonight?
I mean, I'm not good with patterns. I only count to eight and point my toe for a living. But I'm kidding. I mean, I feel like a lot of the votes so far have kind of acted out in a way that they have because that's just how the game has been going. Or at least I hope so. Like I know that like I'm the only one left from my OG tribe, but it's so far in the game now that who even remembers half the shit that went on in those tribes. I barely remember what I ate for lunch yesterday. So when it comes to danger level, I mean, everybody's in danger except William, I guess. Am I like, does it worry me a little bit? Like, but not enough to be like, oh shit. It only worries me because like it's something that's there and you want it to be what it isn't. But I feel like I said, I feel like the game has been the game and it's been naturally rolling, and whatever's happened for a reason and not because of a pattern. Or I hope so. So
William, you are yet again not in danger. What is
Mhm.
it like to be such an immunity king?
You know, I say this all the time, and I don't think you'll believe me anymore. This never happens to me. I usually lose everything. Um, People can attest. I have witnesses. I can provide references. So it is kind of nice to be immune. And I think has given me the freedom to really like kind of state my opinion a little bit more sometimes and kind of really exchange thoughts in a more free way because I do not have to fear the immediate repercussions. So,
Andrew, after the immunity challenge, how much time did you spend going back and trying to figure out what Benji looks like?
Uh, immediately. Um, and like, yeah, you once you like have them face to face, everything looks warped. But I guess it had been a while since I looked at everyone's cast photos because I thought for sure that was just Benji. I actually haven't even looked and see who it was mixed with, but I know I got it wrong. So
Nova, I know you're, are you able to answer a question or are you just observing whilst enjoying wrestling?
I can walk into the kitchen and answer a question real quick.
All right. Nova, has this round had a lighter feel to it than previous rounds, or has it been just as intense?
I think it's had a lighter feel to it. I mean, that tends to happen in games once you get down to the slimmer numbers, is people just kind of chill out a little bit more. Um, I know a lot of those early votes were really stressful, and like it's always gonna be somewhat stressful just with the nature of things. But I definitely think there's like not any more like active chaos happening, and that's always nice.
One, has there been any talks about the twists of the season, about what could be going on with the Colosseum, about what could be going on with the Et tu, Brute?
I mean, if there hasn't been between us, I know it has been with me and my project because I'm a nosy bitch and I like to be like, what the fuck is this? What's going to happen? Um, but I definitely think there's been some talks about it. I also think that half the time we don't want to think about it because that's just added to the stress that no one wants also because you're like, oh shit, someone's coming back in. Oh shit, there's a twist that we have to go through again. Like after this, what's the word? After this, after all the votes back to back and everything has turned out, yeah, I feel like sometimes we just don't want to think about it. But I definitely think that it's been talked about and, we all try to figure out what we thought could happen, but we never know until we get there. So
William, is there any nerves about who it could be that comes back from the Colosseum?
oh yeah. I think that there have um in voting people out, maybe bridges burned, depending on how people feel. But I think it's also an opportunity to rebuild that bridge if the time comes, And so I think whoever it is, I welcome them with open arms and a knife in my hand, So ready to go.
Andrew, does it give a different vibe to the way in which the jury forms? That as people go, there's sort of will sit in a purgatory potentially before eventually ending up on the jury.
Can you rephrase that question?
Yeah. So like when deja vu, crazy deja vu. So like when you get voted out, they go to the Coliseum, hang out in the Coliseum, possibly win, possibly stay in the Coliseum longer, or end up going right over to the jury house. But there's not an immediate hot off the presses going from being voted out to immediately going into the jury, sitting with a bunch of jurors. There's a cool down period, if you will.
So the question is, how does that?
Yeah, what do you make of that? How does that impact the
Oh.
game? Does that play a factor?
I mean, it's good. I feel like, especially based off of how some folks may have left the game, being able to decompress. So the next few people that go, whether it's me or whoever, I feel like there'll be a lot of sharing of information. And I think that would maybe ease people's minds going to the jury house of like, hey, this information we share with this person could eventually put them in the right spot to win. Um, Edge of extinction type thing. I think I answered your question. Probably not, but I don't know.
See, this is what I like about Andrew is he keeps me on my toes. Every other season prior to this, it just says some hoopla and people just like start talking because everybody loves to hear themselves talk. And Andrew's like, but what was the question?
It's also the social pressure of like, I don't want to look stupid, so let me just say whatever the fuck I can to respond.
All right. And Nova, you get the go home question before we go and vote tonight. What is this vote about? What does it look like after the night?
What is this vote about? I think this vote is another step forward. I think that's what it boils down to at the end of the day. We can feel the finish line, and we know things are going to get dicey here soon with the Coliseum and everything. And I think most people are just genuinely focused on trying to put one foot in front of the other.
All right. Well, now it is that time to vote. And don't worry, I will, after the vote and we have results for tonight's vote, I will fill you all in on how the next couple rounds will go. So that way you can play it to the best of your ability. But for right now, before we get there, we have our own vote to get to. So I'm going to go off camera and I'm going to mute myself while I am away. Please go to your voting booths, aka your prod chats, and cast your vote for who you would like to see sentenced to fight to the death in the Coliseum. Oh, and no talking about anything no talking about anything related to this vote or the game.
Where you going, Andrew?
Where do you think I'm going?
Is it a
I'll
bar?
go to the bar with them. It's wing night, so like.
Oh yeah, that's so valid. Wait, are you a boneless or a bone-in kind of guy?
Bone on wing night, I'm bone in,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I
yeah.
actually usually do boneless
Mm.
when it's not wing night.
I'm usually a bone-in guy myself,
I'm over here talking and muted the whole time. I'm like, why the fuck are they talking over me?
We just ignored their ass.
I was like, both. I'll eat both.
I think it depends. If it's like I like know the place, then I'll get bone in because they have to be cooked right. But if it's like a Buffalo Wild Wings, I'll get boneless because you can't really fuck up chicken nuggets. you know?
When I was in Wisconsin, I mean, but when I was in Wisconsin, I got these smoked wings. Oh
Were they
my
good?
gosh. Hell yeah.
Mm, I love wings.
It was on a Super
Honestly,
Bowl.
if you haven't tried Wingstop's honey hot rub, that's just pretty good.
Okay. I used to go to Wingstop a lot.
What
Shout
happened?
out to all the bad bitches.
Shout out to Wingstop.
I just haven't been. Like I have to be in the mood for it, honestly.
I feel like I'm like showing some clavicle right now. There she is.
Okay, clavicle.
There we go. I feel like I can't have like I'm like not someone that can like exist like this. I have to like be able to breathe. I think it's because I have such a fucking fat neck that I can't be caught in tight shirts. Oh yeah, look at it, girl. Look at it. Ugh.
It's like a normal neck.
Listen, it's fat because I have such a big ass head. I don't know if you can tell in this call, but I have such a ginormous head that my neck has to be big enough to hold it up.
I have the votes. Once the votes are read, the decision is final. The person with the most votes will be sentenced to fight to the death in the Coliseum. They'll have a moment to speak their piece, and then they must leave the Zoom immediately. But before I read the votes, if anybody has a hidden immunity idol or other relevant advantage that they would like to play, now is the time to do so. All right, I will read the votes. First vote. Juan. Lyndon. One vote Juan, one vote Lyndon. Lyndon. 2 votes Lyndon. Lyndon. Next player to be sentenced to fight to the death in the Coliseum is Lyndon. Lyndon is not here. They will get to send their final words to the tribe chat later. But for the rest of you, you are now at your first final 5. I would highly recommend doing a lot of thinking about the Roman Empire if you would like to win immunity. And then you will have to sentence one more to fight to the death in the Gladiator Gauntlet, which is a best 2 out of 3 falls battle to get back into the game. Winning such a grueling battle will garner you safety at the second final 5, which means you will survive the Et tu Brute twist, and you will have a seat sitting in the final 4. So be strategic about who you send to do that battle, because it's very possible that voting somebody out could guarantee them a spot in the final 4, or just guarantee them a spot on the jury. So